Welcome to the Waterboy and Equipment Manager podcast. My name is Saif Basaria.
My name is Yaman Tamani, and I look purple.
And I'm Case Charania with the hesitant intro after that.
So, obviously, it has been an interesting week in basketball. We said in the last episode that there was going to be a lot happening with NBA trade opening and then then the draft and free agency. And the NBA spent an estimated $17.8 trillion on free agents this year. That's obviously not accurate. Please do not believe that number. But before we jump into it, let's hit the socials. Case, what is that Instagram real quick?
It's Waterboy and Equipment Manager.
Shaban, what's that Twitter real quick?
It's at Waterboy Manager.
And we are on YouTube at The Waterboy and Equipment Manager Podcast. You could search us on YouTube or really on Google, and we should just pop up. I don't think there's that many other people with that name out there. But like I said, a lot has happened in the NBA, and honestly, we have a lot to recap. I'm going to do you, the listener, a favor and not recap the draft too much because at this point, it's been a week. We're recording on Wednesday. So it's been a week since the draft happened. At this point, you've likely heard any and every possible take that there could be on the NBA draft. So maybe let's just quickly say, maybe one guy that we really liked the location that he ended up in, and then we'll move on to the draft and we'll go talk about the NBA free agency, which is, I think, what people are here to actually listen to. But Case, do you have a guy that you like? Oh, he went to this place and I think it's a really good fit, and I love that right off the bat.
Tyrell Terry to the Kings.
Okay, why?
I mean, he's great to put aside to De'Aaron Fox, which just also congrats on the fucking Supermax extension, bro.
Big money. Big money. He
Jeez.
deserves
What's
it.
it, $195 million? He's a similar player. He brings tenacity and great defense to the court, which De'Aaron Fox also brings. And who knows, hopefully they create this defensive backcourt that we could enjoy watching for times to come.
Who did you say went to Sacramento?
Tyrell Terry.
You mean Tyrese Halliburton?
Yeah, Halliburton. Tyrell
That too.
Terry went to Dallas.
Because you definitely described everything that Halliburton has, and on the
That's
right,
my
you
fault.
got the name mixed up. It's all good. That's what I'm here
There's
for.
a lot of
It'd be like that.
Tyrese Halliburton. Look, you are right though. Really good offensive player, really good defender. It's gonna help make some.
Let me redeem myself. First pick of the second round.
You said what? That's Tyrell Terry to the Dallas Mavericks.
Are you sure?
I promise you. I'm looking
Yeah,
at
bro.
I literally went to go double check. I was like, Tyrell Terry went to the Mavs, and I really like that pick. I think it was one of the steals of the draft, to be quite honest with you, because he fell so low. I had him pretty high up on our board. I won't mention that again. But yeah, I thought it was a good pick. Shaban, do you want to hit on who you thought was a really awesome pickup that's not Tyrell Terry on the Mavericks? Because I know you're going to pick your own team. So let's not do that and do something else.
I thought the way that Patrick Williams just shot up to 4th overall.
That's fair.
I thought that was awesome.
Okay.
Patrick Williams is super athletic. He's sort of a prototypical small forward. He's a reliable contributor on the offensive end. He is a huge defense. He is a huge presence on the glass. He's 6'8", but he's got a 7-foot wingspan. He's he's firmly 230 pounds. He earned ACC all freshman team honors. And, I think that he's going to do great things for the Bulls. It's going to be weird to see that combination of Patrick Williams, Wendell Carter, and Lauri Markkanen down there in that front court and for Chicago. But they got a great athletic, explosive beast in Patrick Williams.
No
I
doubt.
don't understand Chicago at all.
I think it's going to be a fun team. It'll be an interesting team. And they got a good coach, right? They got Billy Donovan. So let's see what they put together.
For sure.
I'm willing to give them a shot. I've got 2 picks here because genuinely do like them a lot. Devin Vassell was one of the players that I really, really liked going into the draft. We talked about it in our draft episode. He went to the Spurs. I didn't love that initially, but the more you think about it, that's probably the best spot to get the most out of him. If Greg Popovich is still in the I'm going to develop young guys mentality, which we don't really know, and I'm not going to say he's not. It's just I know he's getting towards the end of the career, not so much the middle of the career or beginning. So if he's willing to develop Devin Vassell, he could turn into an amazing 3-and-D basketball player. And so I like that a lot. And that's probably a really good landing spot. But I think my favorite pick was the guy that I was high on coming into the draft. I love Cole Anthony. It says something when you play amongst your peers and end up the MVP in 3 different basically all-star games every single time. You're a fantastic player, Cole Anthony, and to end up on the Magic where there is, some need for a point guard here, a guy who can control the offense and score the basketball with him and Markelle Fultz. I think it's interesting, and it could go really well or it could go very poorly. But that's why he fell to 15. Those are 2 picks that I enjoyed, and I think those are good landing spots.
One more I really liked was the Lakers landing Dennis Schroeder with the 28th pick.
Fair. I was gonna stay away from that, but you did bring it up. So, yeah, solid deal. Lakers traded, the 20th pick for Dennis Schroeder, so, and Danny Green, but you get the point.
They got Wes Matthews in return.
Turned out okay. So let's take a second and hear from our sponsor, and then we're going to jump into the free agency talk, boys. That's what we're here to do. All the money flew around, so many players changing teams, and a lot of it happened later than we thought, but very quickly when it did happen. So give us a second here, listener. We'll be right back after a word from the sponsor. What's up, YouTube?
How you doing?
How you doing? Shaban's pretty hype right now because he just finally got the Xbox.
Finally, dude. I was refreshing my goddamn
I'm gonna
screen.
have to cut all this shit out again. I hate you guys so much.
All right, you ready?
Just keep it in the YouTube. It's fine.
I'm gonna keep it in the YouTube.
I know he didn't cut it last time either.
Yeah, no, I didn't cut it last time. All right, and we're back, boys. We're here to talk free agency. A lot of shit happened, so we decided to break it up into categories. I think it's easier to discuss the more valuable or not so valuable free agents if we break it up into categories. And so that's what we did. We have a bunch of different ones, and we'll go through it one at a time, and we'll hit each and every one. So I think the best thing to do is to take the Band-Aid off and jump right into it. Player signings. Who as a player is the biggest winner in your opinion? And so we did that. Well, obviously, like I said, we've done the categories for the listener at home, and each of us on our own docs have kind of discussed our own picks. So we'll go through one by one and discuss who we think is a winner and loser and so on and so forth. So Case, start us off, man. Player signings, winner. Who won their contract, I guess, would be the best way to do it.
Davis Bertans, bro.
Well, talk to me about Bertans.
5 years, $80 million. And he's 29, 30 years old already?
28 years old. He just turned 28 like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, a week and a half ago. Yeah.
So he'll be 33 when the contract's up, and I'm sure he'll just be happy to have the check. Who knows?
I mean, yeah. So the craziest thing is, if you guys remember, he was traded to Washington for like a bag of chips, right? And he goes from bag of chips from San Antonio. He was a good player in San Antonio, by the way. I'm not saying he wasn't. He was traded for a bag of chips because they needed to open up cap space to get Marcus Morris, who then flicked him off and went to New York. If you guys remember that whole saga, that was a whole thing.
That was hilarious.
Bag of chips, goes to Washington, and then makes 5 years, $80 million. Yeah, he definitely won his contract. Mine is it's Gordon Hayward, right? It's a no-brainer. 4 years, $120 million to the Charlotte Hornets. Most will say probably an overpay. I'm inclined to agree with you for those that say that, but in all fairness, there aren't a flock of free agents running to join the Charlotte Hornets, so you got to overpay a little bit. And the reports coming out of Indiana, whether they were offering 4 years, 100, so 4 years, 120 out of Charlotte. Is that
the Knicks were also in the mix?
I don't know how much the Knicks were in the mix, right? The reason why I say that is the Knicks and the Hawks, because they had so much money, cap space, it felt like they were being used as like the boogeyman for a lot of agents to say, hey, this team is interested in my client. They have money. But because we never got a number from the Knicks, right? We never got an offer from the Knicks, or at least not from the public eye of what we saw. But Gordon Hayward absolutely won his contract. That boy got.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely, please.
Are NBA owners laundering money through Gordon Hayward?
What is it? What do you mean?
So they had to buy out his contract, I'm assuming, in Boston, right?
What do you mean buy out his contract?
Was it a player option or did he leave?
No, it was a player option. He decided to decline that player option and then, buzzed his way to the Hornets. See what I did there?
I don't know. It seems like a big way to just get money off the books, mark it as a loss, hope he gets hurt.
My God.
Wow, that's fucked up. Jesus.
Jesus.
I just don't think he's worth 30 mil a year.
I don't think anybody's arguing the other side of that equation. Gordon Hayward has not been the Gordon Hayward that he was meant to be in Boston for a lot of different reasons, injury being definitely the biggest one of those reasons.
I mean, his first game as a Celtic, he went out for the year.
I was just, it's unfortunate, man. That was such a cursed journey, it seems. But, I mean, 4 years, 120 million seems like he was completely unaffected by that issue. Good for you, Gordon. Take that money. Shaban, who do you have that was a winner of his contract?
For the biggest winner, I have the Freddie man himself, Fred Van Vliet.
Fred Van Yeet.
Fred Van Yeet. You know, he signed for 4 years, $85 million, the highest ever contract for an undrafted player. And, you know, he deserves it. You know, he deserves every penny. He's an NBA champion. He played a pivotal role in that. Yeah, right. You know, he is living. You know, he played a huge role in like last year's playoffs for Toronto. He was their go-to starting shooting guard. And aside from being someone who's a deadly shooter, he's a pretty good passer as well. And I was also surprised. I was pretty surprised to see him develop that aspect of his game as well. He's really good at defense. I mean, this guy, you know, he said it best himself. You know, sometimes you just gotta just bet on yourself, and you know, he paid off. You know, good for him. And you know, hopefully Toronto can make something work with him.
So like 4 years, 85 million is what, like 21 and a
21 and
21 and a quarter.
21 and a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
At 21 and a quarter million, you would expect the guy making that much money, or at least you would like to think that guy making that much money is probably your third best player on a championship caliber team. Is that fair? Like at the minimum, your third. Obviously, you'd like him to be your second, but a lot of the time it's two max guys right now. Right. So the trend we're seeing. Yeah. Your third guy is Fred Van Vliet. Would you feel like good third guy for a championship caliber team?
Yeah, I like it.
Absolutely. Love the guy.
I think he's great. He's not afraid of the moment. And he's shown it, right? Like he can perform when it's time to go. And he can lift up his team around him.
That's fair. All right, we're going to move on to the losers of their contract. So the guy who didn't end up getting a number that maybe he deserved or we thought that he would get. And for me, it's Montrezl Harrell. Obviously, as a Laker fan, I am very happy to have Montrezl Harrell. However, Montrezl was being talked about as a player who could be in the realm of a $15, $16 million contract. Then we kind of heard after his performance towards, in the playoffs, okay, maybe 13 million he could get. Then he signed a 2-year, $19 million contract with the Lakers, which puts him at $9.5 million, which is the mid-level exceptions what the Lakers gave him. I think it was like 9.7 or 6 or something. But that's definitely a lot less than Montrezl, I assume, was expecting, but definitely what we thought he was going to get offered. So as a Laker fan, I'm ecstatic to have Montrezl Harrell. But from Montrezl Harrell's perspective, I think he lost on this contract in this free agency. Shaban, who do you have as your loser?
As my loser for this free agency, I'm gonna have to go with Dwight Howard. Poor guy.
That's an interesting choice. Why?
Because Dwight Howard played substantial minutes for a championship team. He is one of the big reasons that Los Angeles had a lot of success in the playoffs.
I would say big reason. I would say a reason maybe, but a big reason.
I mean,
LeBron James.
It was like true. 3 games, bro.
I mean, like those games, like against the Nuggets, where he really bodied up Jokic. He really was like one of those X Factor kind of, like, he really put on X Factor kind of.
Yeah, he was the X Factor in that series. Let's also not forget, Dwight Howard hit the last shot of the NBA Finals.
He did. He hit
a 3. There was a logo
pull
3.
Up half court 3. And he played a big role throughout the season. And the Lakers, they guaranteed
and by big
all this
role,
money.
Shaban means he's 7 foot tall.
Well, he's 6'8", but
okay.
Dwight Howard's only 6'8".
Yeah, he's 6'8", 6'9", I
I
think.
don't know why in my
Bullshit.
head.
Yeah, when they redid the heights for everybody, they shrunk Dwight Howard.
Jeez, by a lot.
By half a foot?
So, okay. Dwight
Yeah.
Howard got a minimum deal. It's a $2.6 million deal with the Philadelphia 76ers on a one-year contract to be the backup behind Joel Embiid. Why? Okay, not why. What did you, Shaban, because you say he lost out on money, which is fair. What do you think he should have got? Like 2.6, okay, maybe a little low. Is he a $5 million guy now in the NBA?
I probably would have put him at like I probably would have pegged him at like put him between that
You can't
$5 to $8 million range.
pause. You can't say Peg and Dwight in the same sentence, bro. Come on now.
I was waiting for you to catch it. But yeah, like
How much money did you say? That's more important.
I was gonna say somewhere between like $5 and $8 million. You know, like he's definitely more than just a veteran minimum. You know, especially for championship pedigree is something that Dwight has now, and it goes a long way.
You're giving Dwight more credit than he deserves. You're giving him a lot
more credit.
A lot of credit that I don't think he deserves here, man. Like
I think Dwight might have just. Okay, go ahead, say my bad.
I like Dwight, and I wanted him to stay on the Lakers. Obviously, before I knew what the Lakers ended up with, right? But a veteran minimum is what he should have gotten, in my opinion. He was good on the Lakers because he played with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, right? Dwight has not been good at basketball in quite some time. Are we saying that Dwight's going to be all of a sudden good with Ben Simmons? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is Dwight going to do in Philly? I don't love the fit. We're not discussing fit. We're talking about losers on money. So you're probably right. 2.6 might be a little low. Maybe he deserves 3.5. Maybe he deserves 4. Maybe he deserves 5. I think 8 is quite high, but I understand. The NBA, the money is kind of crazy. But anyway, Dwight did lose out on money. That I will absolutely give you. Case, you have an interesting one here. Who is your loser on some money here?
Michael Jordan.
Well, he's not playing in the NBA.
Oh my God.
Doesn't have to, because he's actually getting players. And he paid Gordon Hayward $120 million of his own fucking dollars.
I really enjoyed the take that you went to this question with, right? Shaban and I are out here picking players who lost out on money. You're like, fuck that. This owner fucked up. He literally took money and just seems to be throwing it away, which is probably somewhat true, but also very funny. But this is the same guy who gave Terry Rozier like $18 million a year. So clearly
and you know who else they signed?
Who else did they sign?
Bismack Biyombo.
Oh, they already had Bismack. They just brought him back.
They just re-signed him.
They released him and then brought him back.
I think his contract expired, but either way, they got Bismack Biyombo back. That's the point. Let's move on to the teams that won. So a team that made a good signing that seems like it was a good signing or a good few signings. And I'm going to get started, boys. It's no duh. It's the Los Angeles Lakers. The rich get richer. The NBA champions were arguably the winners of free agency. I would say, I think a lot would agree. And they got better. The team they had last year was a good team, but it required a lot of LeBron James and Anthony Davis to do a lot of work, and that likely will still be the case. However, they took a $15 million Danny Green player and replaced him with Wesley Matthews, which is maybe a notch below, but I think they're probably on the same playing field, to be quite honest with you, right? And they got him at $3.6 million versus $15 million. They got six-man runner-up Dennis Schroeder, who, by the way, is a replacement for Rajon Rondo, who was terrible in the regular season, if you don't forget. We called him Ron Doodoo on this podcast. Thank you, Shaban.
Yeah. And don't forget, we also have the sixth man.
Yeah, and then I'm getting there, right? So Dennis Schroeder is a fantastic bench scorer. That's something that the Lakers struggled with this whole year. Montrezl Harrell, the sixth man of the year, is on the Lakers now. Another great bench piece who's going to help fortify the Lakers bench, something that we didn't necessarily have last year. Marc Gasol is one of the most cerebral players in the NBA, absolute maestro with the ball, one of the greatest big men passers of all time, fantastic defender. And quite frankly, he's going to be asked to do a lot less on the Lakers than he was asked to do with the Raptors last year, where he didn't look so great in the bubble. But you know what? Some guys didn't. So we'll cut him slack. We'll see how he does. But look, he's in LA. He's living with Pau, his brother. That's why he came to the Lakers. He's got his niece there. His whole family's there. He's going to be in a good mood. and the weather's pretty damn good too. So Mark is going to be in a good place. They re-signed KCP for a reasonable number, I think. Not the best number. I wish we got him for less, but who cares? The Lakers have money, and it's not like they blew up their cap space to do so. They made it happen, so it's fine. And Markieff Morris, maybe not the better Morris brother, but definitely the cheaper Morris brother at a veteran minimum deal. The Lakers got.
What do you mean, not the better Morris brother?
Well, the stats would say otherwise. I know you're partial to Markieff, but look, they definitely got better. They're better.
Look, one's an NBA champion, one's not.
That's probably not a fair comparison.
It's pretty fair.
Sure. What's his face? Robert Horry's got 7 rings and Michael Jordan has 6.
I'm gonna agree with Kays on account of fuck Marcus Morris. He is a bitch.
I mean, yeah. Well,
okay. You're a Dallas.
You're a Mavs fan. So anyway, so the Lakers are my team that won free agency. I don't think there's hard arguments to be made there. I think both of you agree with that.
Not
but
at all.
You were forced for this exercise to pick a different team because I got to the Lakers first, which I appreciate.
No, you wouldn't have. I would have picked the Lakers. I just thought it was obvious.
Well, I picked them anyway because you didn't pick them. So then you discuss who you thought were free agency winners, Case.
I thought the Blazers were winners in free agency. They got Melo back for the minimum.
Okay.
And, Melo was great for him this year. He showed a lot in the bubble.
He was good. I wouldn't say great. He was good. You are partial to Carmelo Anthony. You have to agree with that.
That's fine.
You show capability to Carmelo Anthony. He's not a bad basketball player. I'm not saying that. Minimum is very fair for him. Very fair.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he deserved more.
Sure. What else? What else did the Blazers do? Because
they brought Rodney Hood back.
Off an Achilles tear.
That's fine. Sue Bird won a fucking championship off an Achilles tear.
Sue Bird is one of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game. That is not fair.
That's fine.
If you win an NBA Finals MVP,
injuries.
Not necessarily in this case, but sure. You got
Look at Emmanuel Sanders after his Achilles tear. I know it's not basketball, but Emmanuel Sanders looked great and is playing very well after his Achilles tear.
Playing all right. It's playing all right,
Yeah.
but we're a basketball podcast.
Portland also got Derrick Jones Jr. Huge explosive athletic talent there.
Didn't like that. I like that they bought Cantor back though.
I didn't love that Derrick Jones Jr. Well, hold on. Let me let you finish on Portland, and then I'll say my piece. Sorry. Go ahead.
They bought Enes Kanter back and solidified that front court with Kanter and Nurkic again, which they had great success with before Nurkic got hurt.
Great success.
Oh my God.
Yeah, very nice.
Very nice. And
yeah, I think they've rounded off the team very well, and I think they'll push this year.
You missed out on their best addition of the offseason. They got
say
Rocco. They got Robert Covington.
Yeah, that's right.
I forgot about that.
That's the biggest piece. So, okay, here's my 2 cents on the Blazers. Melo, cool, fine, I guess. I'm not gonna slander Melo. I got a lot of love and respect for Melo. I won't do that to him. Rodney Hood off an Achilles tear. I don't know if he's gonna be all right. I don't know if I'd be willing to bet on Rodney Hood. I bet on Kevin Durant, sure, but Kevin Durant is not Rodney Hood, and Rodney Hood is not Kevin Durant, right? And Enes Kanter could not play for the Celtics in the NBA playoffs. Why are we excited about Enes Kanter right now? And what is so
different styles of play?
He couldn't play for them in the playoffs. What do you mean different styles of play? And his nickname is Can't Play Canner. That's his name, Can't Play Canner. That has followed him. Yeah, that's followed him for years, by the way. That's not news here. And then who was the other addition that they had? Derrick Jones Jr. could not crack basically 5 minutes a game in the NBA Finals against the Lakers. So cool, I guess he's going to be fine. But the guy, again, not a great addition. And Robert Covington is cool. He's probably the best addition of their offseason and likely will start for them. So that's awesome. But they gave up 2 first-round picks for Robert Covington. I get it because they're Portland picks, and Portland obviously has playoff aspirations, and I think they will be a playoff team. I don't think there's much argument there. They'll hopefully be healthy this year. But Rocco's fine, I guess. He'll be fine. I don't know if Melo's likes that Rocco got there because now Melo's definitely not going to be starting.
But he knows that.
I hope he knows that. I haven't.
He literally said it in his press conference when he signed.
Yeah. Oh, look, I hope so. At the end of the day, I think the Blazers they are a better basketball team. I don't know if they're a better NBA final contender or NBA Western Conference final contender. by much. They did move the needle up though. I will give you that. Yes.
Yeah, it does look like they kind of focused on, you know, physicality, athleticism, size. It looks like those are some of the things they really prioritize this offseason. You know,
That
because they got Harry Giles, who's 6'11". He was a center for Sacramento. They have Nurkic back from injury. He's a 7-footer. Rocco is probably the third tallest person on that team at like 6'7",
Fourth.
6'8", or fourth. Well, I guess Rodney Hood is 6'8", right? Zach
Fifth,
Collins
actually,
is
Rodney Hood and Enos Cantor, bro. Come on.
yeah. Zach Collins, he's gonna be out by until like mid-January from an ankle injury. So I guess Portland was really trying to go for that. You know, trying to catch up on size with the rest of the league.
I guess
But yeah, but I see what you're saying on
they'll be a better regular.
Portland. They didn't necessarily improve as a finals contender.
Exactly. They'll definitely be a better regular season team for sure. No doubt about that.
Mhm.
Shaban, who's your team that won NBA free agency?
So I'm gonna like put a slight little caveat here. I said the Atlanta Hawks were winners, but really it's just Trae Young who's the winner here.
Okay. Well,
Uh
why?
well, we've heard rumblings over the past season that Trae Young has been feeling very frustrated, that that the front office and the coaching staff and the team itself and the organization, we are not making a commitment to compete and to make a push, to actually be a competitive team. Uh, by we, I mean Atlanta Hawks, because
Sure.
we're in Atlanta and we're all Hawks fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, Travis Schlenk over this past offseason really took that to heart. And Trae Young is is an all-star last year. He's probably a superstar caliber player, one of the best point guards in the league right now.
Awesome.
And Travis really took it upon himself to surround him with great talent. They shored up the backcourt, the backcourt depth. They got Chris Dunn and they got Rondo. Rondo, he played on the Lakers this past year, won a championship with the Lakers. He was one of those guys that came up big and on the defensive end. Rondo is probably one of the most intelligent players we have in the league right now, just by his his natural God-given talents and passing wizardry and overall his basketball IQ and his wealth of experience. Chris Dunn has evolved into one of the league's most elite defenders. I thought that was a great signing. And then we got like two bigger high-profile signings, which are probably our biggest signings in the offseason. We got Danilo Gallinari for 3 years, $61.5 million, which was a very aggressive contract for someone who, according to Travis Schlenk, has said is going to be coming off the bench for John Collins.
Mhm.
That they are not interested in trading John Collins. They are looking to offer John Collins a max extension per Travis Schlenk himself.
Link said that they are actually offering or looking to offer him a max extension.
So it's an alleged conversation he had in his season ticket holder call.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead and finish, and then we'll talk about the Hawks. I've got questions.
Yeah. And also, we got Bogdan Bogdanovic. We pried him for the Kings for 4 years, $72 million. That's just a price tag that Sacramento wasn't willing to pay. And also the fallout from that sign and trade with Sacramento and Milwaukee.
What sign and trade?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So, the Hawks are sending a clear signal here that we are like, just by signing Gallinari and Bogdanovic, that the Hawks are ready for a more advanced and a more matured offensive system. And, adding Chris Dunn and Rajon Rondo to the mix, also getting Tony Snell and Solomon Hill, also big bodies on the wing. It shows that, or at least the Hawks are trying to send a clear signal to Trae that, we're willing to make the moves that you want. These are clearly like B tier free agents. These aren't A tier guys. But but it would allow Atlanta to have some momentum to go after the A tier guys, probably in the next free agent class. And
No, please keep talking, man. Let us get in on here, okay? Let us get in here. So look, I think the Hawks did the right thing for Trae Young. I think they made the right moves in order to help him and the Hawks become a playoff team. That seems like the goal. That seems like the goal here. However, they don't necessarily make basketball sense. Okay.
Mhm.
Here's what I mean. Chris Dunn, I think, is a fantastic signing for the Hawks. He's a really awesome defender. He's one of the best guard defenders in the league. We know, because we've discussed on the podcast many times, Trae Young is the worst, not one of, he is the worst guard defender in the league. Minutes, qualification, whatever. He's terrible. He'll put up 30 and he'll give up 29 and a half most nights. So adding a guy like Chris Dunn, I think, is very helpful. It will help hide Trae Young better. Bogdan Bogdanovic, I think, is a fantastic signing. We need a guy who can score the ball and allow Trae Young to go off ball. He's a guy who can actually take the ball and make some offense happen. I like that. Gallinari makes no sense to me because he's 31 or 30 years old, making a pretty good amount of money here in Atlanta, apparently coming off the bench because the Hawks don't want to trade JC. By the way, I don't condone them trading JC, but that's why Gallo doesn't necessarily make all that much sense here. And Rondo doesn't make any sense at all. I like Rondo. He won us a championship. But Shaban, you yourself referred to Rondo as Ron Doodoo for the entire regular season. Now, if he's going to be Ron Doodoo in Atlanta for the entire regular season, I don't know why he's here, right? I just don't get that.
I mean, I'm just hoping they play him like minimal minutes.
Well, then why'd you pay him
more
$15 million? A lot of money to pay a guy who's going to play 12 minutes a game or 15 minutes a game or whatever, right? That's a lot. He's literally playing $1 million per minute, it seems.
Yeah.
So he's getting a lot of money to apparently not play a lot of minutes. And Rondo is the best thing Rondo can do is help educate Trae Young on how to jump passing lanes and be a more threatening defender, to be a less than net zero defender, right?
I'm not saying that it's not like the money is not an issue. I mean, like they're clearly like Gallinari is clearly an overpay. Rondo is like
I'm not faulting. I just want to clarify. I'm not faulting the overpay. As Atlanta Hawks fans, the three of us have been raised in Atlanta. We're well versed in Atlanta Hawks lore and history.
Right.
We are not a free.
Do you not remember the Joe Johnson contract?
Right. We're not a free agent destination. You have to overpay to get guys. I understand that, and it is necessary. I don't think we would have gotten Gallinari if we didn't offer him $60 million. I don't think we gotten Rondo if we didn't offer him $15 million. I get that. I just don't. I don't love that at all because Gallo's, like I said, 30 years old. Rondo is above 30. I think he's like 33 or something years old. This could potentially hurt the development of the younger guys who could potentially be good basketball players, right? Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter. Those guys are going to lessen their minutes, and those guys were coming into their own before the stoppage of play back in March. And so I understand the pressure from what seems like ownership and Trae Young to turn into a playoff team. But there's a lot of guys in the East. There's a lot of good teams in the East.
Right now, I see our ceiling.
That's exciting.
I see, they don't really, the addition of these new pieces, they don't really fit our timeline for our core young guys like DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish,
and
Kevin Huerter, Onyeka Okongwu. I thought that was a very puzzling choice for the Hawks on draft night. I mean, he's a great player. He has crazy upside, and I think the Hawks, from what I've heard, they are relying on him to become like the next Bam Adebayo, which is, a lot. He's like,
I don't know about all that, but do it. But anyway,
yeah, sure, go for it.
We talked very long about the Hawks, so Shaban, conclude this baby and let's move on here.
Yeah, so that's kind of all these reasons are kind of why I added the caveat that the Hawks did make a lot of good trades and a lot of good moves, but the real winner here is Trae Young. And at this point, even with all these moves, our ceiling is probably a 7th seed at the best.
Yeah, probably 7-8 seed. But all right, let's move on to the teams that lost in the free agency. Because there were a few. I think all three of us didn't have a very hard time picking teams here. I chose the Detroit Pistons. What the hell look, they had a fantastic draft. I think their draft was awesome. But then the free agent signings 2 days later seemed like it was two different front offices making two different moves, right? Mason Plumlee, fine backup center in the league, 3 years, 25 million. Okay, why? Right? It's not an insane overpay. It's an overpay, but not an insane one for a team that could use Mason Plumlee. What the fuck are the Detroit Pistons going to do with Mason Plumlee? I don't get that at all. Then Jahlil Okafor, by the way, to follow Mason Plumlee. And then Jeremy Grant, who, by the way, great basketball. Good, very good basketball player. Really awesome 3-and-D guy in the league. 3 years, $60 million is a lot for a guy who is likely not going to put you over the top or make you a playoff team in this league. I don't know what they're doing paying Jeremy Grant $60 million. I just don't get it. I don't get the move the Pistons made at all. And so that's why I think they were one of the biggest losers here. Case, who's your loser? And this one is my favorite, as you could probably tell.
Already, it's the Clippers.
Why?
I mean, they lost Trez. They signed Marcus Morris to 4 years, $64 million.
Yeah.
He's a good player, but he's not $16 million a year good.
Well, yeah, I would be inclined to agree with you.
And, they still have Patrick Beverly starting.
Why is that a net negative to you?
Because it's Patrick Beverly. He
You were a
played
big
like 8
Bev
minutes
guy,
in
like
the playoffs.
6 months ago.
I'm still a big Pat Bev guy, but he's just not an effective basketball player. He's a nuisance, right? He triggers people, and honestly, I think he cost them that Denver series.
Why?
He just talks a lot, and he's not good enough to back it up on both ends of the court. He's a pest defensively, I agree. But offensively, he's almost a fucking zero.
He's like a 1.5. Sure.
Almost a fucking zero, right?
Yeah, pretty damn close.
And the Ibaka signing softened the blow a little bit, but I don't know how much it helps.
I mean, look, I think Ibaka, for what it's worth, is a better fit than Montrezl Harrell is for that team. He's going to be a good player for them, but you're right. Marcus Morris, losing Trez, losing JaMychal Green, who put in good minutes and good work for them. They didn't get significantly better. Better, and I think that's a big takeaway when they have intentions to win a championship, and the Lakers just got a lot better, and they kind of got a little bit better with Ibaka, right? But besides that, they didn't get a whole lot better. Shaban, yours is the most interesting one. Who is your loser team of the free agency period?
Yeah, this is where this is my obligatory let's dunk on the Hornets and Michael Jordan post right here.
Okay, we also turned shitting on them today.
Yeah. So the Charlotte Hornets are the biggest loser here. A few episodes ago we talked about what the Hornets really needed, and we all came to a consensus that the Hornets really needed a big man, a really young big man, to fit the timetable and to fit the timetable of the core group that they have with Terry Rozier, PJ Washington, Devontae Graham, all those guys.
Miles Bridges and LaMelo Ball.
And now LaMelo Ball is in the mix now. And they really need a big man to really tie that together. A young big man who is athletic, who can roll to the rim, who can defend. Cody Zeller wasn't getting it done for them, so they needed an upgrade. And then they lost out on both Montrezl Harrell and Christian Wood. Both those guys are under 26 years old. They would have fit Charlotte's timetable pretty well, given their skill sets and they're also their age and their development stage. And then they inexplicably offered Gordon Hayward $120 million, which is, he's a 30-year-old wing.
You don't have to explain Gordon Hayward. We've already talked about him way times in this podcast. They offer a lot of money. Move on up to Gordon Hayward.
It's a lot of money for someone who's probably never gonna make another All-Star game again. And
probably true and very hurtful.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is, right?
For the Hornets. We look. I mean, no disrespect, Shaban. You did the right thing. They lost. I'm just done talking about the Hornets today. Is that fair?
That's fair. Let's move on.
Yeah, well, I'm done talking about the 11 seed in the East or the 10 seed in the East.
Right.
Whatever the hell they're going to be. So let's move on to actually the more interesting parts of this conversation that I wanted to have with you guys. Let's talk about the best fit, the signing that made the most sense for these basketball teams. And Shaban, yours is an easy one, but you know what? Easy doesn't mean bad. Easy means easy. Talk to us. Well, what's your pick? What's your pick for this one? Best fit.
For the best fit, I put Goran Dragic He signed signed a 2-year deal to stay with the Miami Heat for $37 million. He is, Goran Dragic is one of the key components of the Miami Heat. He fits in with the glove. He fits in with them like a glove, and he's embraced Heat culture. Just fit. It works.
You're right. Goran Dragic is a huge piece of the Miami Heat. We saw what they missed when he got hurt in the NBA Finals, and we saw what they needed when he played great in the rounds previous, and when he came back. So you know what? Like I said, easy doesn't necessarily mean bad. Sometimes it's the right pick. I went with Christian Wood for Houston Rockets, 3 years. I think $41 million is what the final number has come out to be. Great pick for the Rockets. They clearly needed someone who can play center and play a little bit bigger than PJ Tucker for them. Christian Wood is a really good pick. By the way, still 38% from three. He's only shooting 3 or 4 a game in this past season with the Pistons, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's a bad shooter. He's clearly a decent shooter when he's shooting them. 6 rebounds, a block a game. And by the way, after the trade deadline and Drummond was moved, he got significantly better. He's a good pickup for the Rockets, and he's going to fill a lot of the problems they had. I think he's the right guy for that team. Case, who's your best fit signing?
I think Jeff Teague to the Celtics is a good fit.
This is an interesting choice. Explain it to me.
So the Celtics need kind of a playmaker / scorer coming off the bench. And Jeff Teague did prove his worth while he was with the Hawks and for a little bit in Minnesota and Indianapolis. But he's kind of disappeared over the last few years, but I still think that in a good organization with a good coach, he can be effective. And the Celtics lost Hayward, and they lost Wanamaker to the Warriors. So it's like you need someone off the bench to do something, and I think it's a good fit. Plus $2.25 million.
Yeah, not bad. And look, if this is the guy replacing Brad Wanamaker, I feel pretty good about that, right? Let's move on to the best value signing. This is the guy that got underpaid maybe, but really fits the team really well. Good bang for your buck guy. Mine's Mo Harkless for the Miami Heat. Or maybe I cheated, Wesley Matthews for the Lakers. Both those guys, awesome 3-and-D guys, fit the culture, fit the work ethic of the teams, and they both only got $3.6 million, the biannual exception. That's a really good number for both of those guys. So I like them a lot. So I went very simple, Mo Harkless, Wesley Matthews. Shaban, who do you have as your best value fit?
For my best value fit, I have Jay Crowder. He signed 3 years, $30 million with the Phoenix Suns. His ceiling is he's a legit starting forward 3-and-D guy.
You think he's going to start for them off rip, like game one?
Well, I mean, like that's his ceiling, right? But his
floor. I'm just wondering, do you think they signed? Because I was thinking about this earlier, and I was like, do you think he'll start? Do you think they signed him at 3 years 30 to start day one? What do you think?
I think they can afford to. I mean, I feel like they can start him. He's definitely a starting caliber player. He plays great defense, and he's a threat from the outside. I think that they could start him if they don't really have much of a choice. But even as a top backup, $10 million a year for like a top backup who can play great defense and shoot, that's a good deal.
Yeah, I think so too. Jay Crowder, good fit. 3 years, $30 million. By the way, after the Miami series, I thought he was going to get paid a lot more than $10 million a year. So you're right. Value, definitely there. Case, who's your value guy?
I think Avery Bradley with the Heat, 2 years, $11.5 million. Bradley proved himself to still be one of the best defenders in the league at the guard position. He didn't play in the bubble. I'm kind of pissed off about it. But, he's a great player, and Miami got pretty much the same deal he was on for the Lakers if he had opted in.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the worst signing as far as the fit goes. This guy doesn't fit on the team. Might have gotten overpaid, might have got underpaid, but he definitely doesn't fit on the team. Mine is now a guy who I really, really liked going into the bubble, in the regular season when he got traded. Malik Beasley for the Timberwolves doesn't seem to make sense to me anymore because they drafted Anthony Edwards. So now they got D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, Jared Culver, Josh Okogie, Ricky Rubio. Am I missing anybody? You know what I'm saying? Like, they got a lot of dudes to play the 1 and 2 and maybe a little bit of 3 for them. And 4 years, $60 million is a lot of money for Malik Beasley, and maybe fairly so. But how many for a guy? $15 million for a guy to definitely come off your bench in all likelihood? Because you just drafted Anthony Edwards. He's not going to start now? That's a little bit of a. I don't necessarily love the money here, and I don't think maybe he's long for Minnesota, but maybe he is because the money's a lot. Case, do you have? Oh, I mean, your worst fit is pretty simple. Go ahead, man.
It's Jaleel Okafor. Honestly, just why? Like, do you need another big man sitting on the bench?
So, listener, I want you to understand. Kay's in our doc literally wrote Jaleel Okafor. Just why? That's it. That's all he wrote in the doc. So I don't want to even ask him to expand on it. If you know Jaleel, you understand why this doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Just enlighten me, right? Jaleel was what, a top 5 draft pick?
Yeah, I think he went 4 to Philly back in.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he's bounced around ever since, never made a name for himself. Why is Detroit paying him money to sit on the bench? He's not going to play.
The same reason New Orleans did it. The same reason every other team has done it so far. I don't know. I don't get Jaleel Okafor. Shaban.
And that's why I said just why.
Yeah, Shaban, do you have a guy for this position, or do you want to start the next one off? What are you thinking?
I'll start off the next one.
Okay.
I don't really have like a worst fit. I do have a really worst value.
Okay.
My worst value guy is Jakob Poeltl, 3 years, $27 million with the San Antonio Spurs. He has played 142 games for San Antonio.
That's good, right?
And he has started in like 20% of those times. In those 140 some odd games that he has made 5.6 points a game, 5.5 rebounds a game, and 1 block per game in the last 2 seasons with San Antonio. And now they're probably gonna, with this price tag, they're probably gonna run with him as being the legit starting center here for Greg Popovich. And I'm just like, why? Honestly, just
for those of you listening at home, let me just remind you who Jakob Poeltl is, just for the easiest way. Ready? Kawhi Leonard got traded for DeMar DeRozan and that random dude. Jakob Poeltl is that random dude. He's the guy that was thrown into the DeMar DeRozan Kawhi Leonard deal, and now he's making $27 million from what we thought is a very intelligent franchise, the San Antonio Spurs. Shaban, this is a great pick for you on the worst value signing. I have to agree with you. It makes no fucking sense. Mine is even easier. It is Marcus Morris, 4 years, $64 million for the LA Clippers. Marcus Morris is a basketball player, right? Shaban clearly does not like him. I understand that. I'm not a big fan either. He's a fine basketball player. He's a decent scorer and a pretty good defender, above average defender, maybe even good defender. Is he $16 million a year at 30 years old? No. How about at 33 and 34 years old? Definitely not. So I don't get why they paid him this money. I don't know who was in the market offering him this contract, and they were competing against who. You know what I'm saying? Who was paying him this money to get this guy? I'll get off my high horse. We've already talked about Marcus Morris enough. So they already paid. New York Knicks already paid him last year. Joke's on you, motherfucker. Case, who is your worst value signing? And this one is easy, so make it 2 seconds and let's move on.
Gordon Hayward.
Okay, moving on.
Oh my God.
I said it. I was like, I cut Shaban off, so I'm cutting you off. We've talked enough Charlotte Hornets. We've talked enough Gordon Hayward. We're moving on.
I wasn't going to say much more.
That's fair. Who is a good signing, but potentially could be a regrettable contract down the line? And this is our last category because I think this is the most interesting one. In order to be a good GM in the NBA or even a decent GM in the NBA, you have to have hindsight. Early, though, right? You have to have it when you sign the guy to a contract. So that's what we're going to talk about. Who makes sense today and in 3 years or 4 years maybe doesn't make all that much sense anymore? Shaban, I think you have the most interesting one, and it's one that I definitely agree with. So who did you pick for this category?
So this is a great like you said, this is a good signing, but it was Joe Harris. The Brooklyn Nets retained Joe Harris for 4 years, $75 million. And for $75 million, 4 years, that's like a number reserved for like some top tier 3-and-D wings.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is with Joe Harris is that he is a great 3-point shooter.
One of the best.
But yeah, one of the best in the league. He's 42% in the league, 7th in the league in 3-point percentage. And that's really all he does. He doesn't play defense.
Say what you're going to say. It's a lot of 3 and no D.
No D.
Pause. I know you wanted
And-
to say it, so say it, you motherfucker.
But I'll let Shaban say what he wants to say. Joe Harris can really put it in from deep,
Oh, good.
but that's all he can do.
Well
but he can't defend from deep.
well done. Well done.
Well, you shouldn't be defending from deep anyway. That's how people shoot the 3-pointer.
Hey man, that's why people have to guard Steph the whole fucking court. You're right. Joe Harris makes all the sense in the world for the Nets. He's a really good fit. $75 million is a lot of money for a guy who does not play a lick of defense or damn near. I don't even know if I could say Joe Harris tries on. Does he even try on defense? Is that a fair title?
Define try.
Does he try? Does he even like attempt?
He attempts. Not very hard, but he attempts.
Okay. All right. Well, mine's going to be Jeremy Grant. Again, I've talked about him before. I like Jeremy Grant. I think he's a very good basketball player. I think he made sense on Denver Nuggets or a contending basketball team. But paying him 3 years and $60 million on the Detroit Pistons, who don't probably have any intention to make the playoffs, let alone win a championship or anything like that, that's a lot of money. And by the way, the reports are coming out. You guys have read them. I've read them. Denver offered to match this deal. They offered him 3 years and $60 million as well. And he turned it down because he wanted a bigger role. Well, I hope you back it up, Jeremy, because I like you as a basketball player, but you are no 20-point per game scorer. At least not, I don't believe that you are. Please prove me wrong, because $20 million is a lot of money to pay a guy to not make the playoffs. Fair?
Agreed.
Who's your good now, but maybe not so good later signing?
I love the man, but Danilo Gallinari's fucking contract just kills me, bro.
Why? Why is this contract so bad? $20 million
I don't know.
a year, that's not terrible.
It's pretty fucking terrible. Then again, I might not be thinking NBA money wise, but still, I don't know. I mean, he hasn't
million
looked great at times, and I don't know if he's going to be very consistent coming off the bench for the Hawks. If he does come off the bench, if you're looking for his season stats, they all kind of average out the same, but there's a lot of ups and downs during the year.
Look, Gallo's a good signing. We talked about Gallo, so I won't go too much in depth. I just want to hit a couple of signings we didn't talk about and get your quick.
I was going to do that too.
Yeah, quick
Real
hit.
quick though.
Steven
1 second.
Adams,
Let me get in first.
get in where?
Big shout out to Jason Tatum, Bam Adebayo, De'Aaron Fox, Donovan Mitchell, and Brandon Ingram for signing max contracts.
I think all of those guys deserve it, by the way. I don't think any one of those guys got a contract.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah. I think every one of those guys, except for BI, qualified for the $195 million.
Supermax, yeah.
Oh, really?
Max. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's the only one that didn't qualify, I think, due to his time on the Lakers.
Okay. Dude, his time on the Lakers. Fuck you. That's fair.
It's not his fault. He was just
fair. Okay, let's do some quick hits and then we're gonna get out of here, boys. Steve Adams, 2 years, $35 million extension. That's what, roughly $17.5 million a year added on to his additional remaining. Shawan, thoughts?
I think Steven Adams is going to be a good pairing down low for New Orleans.
Okay.
What was the number again? 2 years, 30 something million?
35.
Million. It's like $17.5 million.
Damn, that's $17.5 million a year.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna change this. Ready? All we're gonna do, I'm gonna say the number, say the name. You go thumbs up, thumbs down, but say it so the listener at home can hear it. Steven,
thumbs up.
$35 million. Thumbs up. Case.
Thumbs up. Love Aquaman. Next.
Yeah.
Kent Bazemore, minimum contract to the Golden State Warriors.
Love
Thumbs
it.
up.
Next.
Okay. Very cool. Aaron Baines, 2 years, $14.3 million on the Raptors.
Not a bad deal. I like it.
Yeah, okay. I think it's a little bit of a thumbs down on this one. A little bit of an overpay, but whatever. It's an That's fair. Alec,
they did their best.
Well, Trey Burke, 3 year, I think it's $10 million contract on the Mavs. Shaban? Thumbs up.
I love it.
All right. KCP, 3 years, $40 million. How do we feel, boy?
That's it. But he was the third best player this year, so I love it.
Shaban, 3 years, $40 million.
Yeah, I mean, he earned his money.
Thumbs up?
Yeah, thumbs up.
Okay. Willie Cauley-Stein, 2 years, $8 million on the Mavericks.
Don't like it.
Thumbs down.
Like
thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Okay. Jordan Clarkson, 4 years, $52 million on the Utah Jazz. Thumbs up. It's a lot of money. He was really good.
Thumbs up.
He was really good for them. Let's see. Who else? Derek Favors, 3 years, $27 million on the Utah Jazz to be a backup center.
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Okay. Thumbs down. I think it's a thumbs up. It's a little bit much, but he's a good player. He's a good player. Bryn Forbes, 2-year deal with the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know the number yet. I think that's a big, big thumbs up. They needed shooters. They
Yeah.
got. This is a good play here.
Yeah, that's a
And
thumbs up.
and last but not least, because we only slightly touched on it, but we probably should touch on it a little bit more. Serge Ibaka, 2 years, $19 million in the LA Clippers. I think this is a big thumbs up. It's a big
Thumbs up.
Yeah,
thumbs up. All right, boys.
Serge Ibaka definitely helps.
Yeah, this wraps up our free agent episode. There was a lot to go around. We may not have hit every single player. We definitely didn't hit every single team. Hopefully, we hit your favorite player or your favorite team listener. And if not, we'll get to it at some point. Boys, the next
Also, we have a Bronny sighting. First
I don't know what
Bronny sighting.
what does that mean?
Bronny James disappeared after the finals.
Oh, yeah.
He's just now reappeared on the court with LeBron, so he is alive.
He is alive. Good news.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good news, people. All right. The next time we talk is next week, and a lot of NBA camps will either be starting or have started by then. So hopefully we get to see a lot of scrimmages, maybe. I don't know. NBA TV, let's talk. But anyway, in the meantime, for the boys and myself, thank you for listening, listener. We'll see you next week. See ya.
peace.
Bye.